Happy Groundhog Day week, SJU fans. I'm Matt Martucci, and we welcome you to Inside the Hawks, our weekly podcast that brings you all things SJU athletics. Well, we don't need Punxsutawney Phil to tell us it's been a long winter for SJU men's basketball, but every now and then we find a ray of sunshine, and last weekend that came in the form of a halftime guest. During the Hawks matchup with Temple, Hall of Fame broadcaster and former Big Five, as well as Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers voice Bill Campbell, was able to join Joe Lunardi and I to discuss his 7 decades in broadcasting and just a handful of his many memories. Here's Joe Lunardi and I with Philadelphia and broadcasting legend Bill Campbell on the St. Joseph Sports Network and Inside the Hawks here on SJU All Access. Joe Lunardi, Matt Martucci with you, and it is our pleasure now to be joined by the Dean of Broadcasting at Philadelphia, the Dean of the Big Five, Bill Campbell, who joins us, and we're taking a look at your picture on the computer from 1960, and now this, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, this is your 7th decade in broadcasting?
That's a long time. I realize that it's been at least 7 decades when I started climbing these steps. I remember I used to beef about these steps when I was young, and now that I'm old, but it's really a great pleasure to be with you guys, and it's really nice to come back to the Palestra. I haven't been here in quite a while. Well, I spent a lot of days here, a lot of nights.
Bill, you were inducted into the St. Joseph's Athletics Hall of Fame this past fall as a non-alumnus, but you've long had a connection to St. Joseph's. Tell us about it.
I've been around St. Joe since I was, a real kid, since I was 5 or 6 years old. When St. Joe's College was at 17th and Stiles, back in the days when it was in North Philadelphia, before it ever moved out to a city line. And I had an uncle who was a Jesuit priest, so I've been kind of a distant relative of the Jesuit family for a long, long time. St. Joe's is part of my life. It still is. As you know, Joe, some of my very, very best friends are St. Joe people. Some of them are St. Joe priests. Some of them are faculty members. They've been a great influence on my life, and I owe them a lot. And I was really, really thrilled to be inducted into the St. Joe's Athletics Hall of Fame. I met a lot of Hall of Fames, only because I've been around a long time. If you stay around long enough, they put you in the Hall of Fame, I guess. But I'm in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame and the Pennsylvania, the Naismith Hall of Fame, and quite a few others. But going in the St. Joe Athletics Hall of Fame was a very special moment, and I will always be very grateful.
Broadcast pioneer Bill Campbell joining us here on halftime of St. Joseph's and Temple. The Owls leading 32-22. Bill, you've done so much. You did the Phillies, you did the Eagles, you've done countless Big Five games. You even called Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game in Hershey, Pennsylvania. What stands out when you think of a best memory or a best couple of memories from all your years in broadcasting?
Well, the name of the game, as I think both of you will agree, is winning, especially when the Hawks are having the kind of a season like this. It's frustrating. It's frustrating when no matter when you're sitting here like this broadcasting the game, it eats at you a little bit when you're having the kind of a season that you guys are having. And it's tough, but it's coming from inexperience. Players haven't played a long time. They haven't learned. Things are going to get better. These kids out here who are making these mistakes on defense, and they're getting beaten mostly on defense. It's going to get better. They're going to get better. And they're going to learn. And, 2 years from now, you'll say, well, maybe it was worthwhile. It's never really worthwhile when you're losing. I'll tell you, in my career, I've lost many more games than I've won. I just got a new wristwatch from the Eagles because I broadcast the last time the Eagles won a championship, 1960. It was 50 years ago. I've been dying to win the NFL championship all those years, and we sometimes never came close. Think of all the Phillies games that I've lost. I mean, the Phillies have lost over 10,000 games, and I guess I broadcast 4,000 or 5,000 of those. So if you go back and think about it, you got to hang in there, and no matter what they say, at the bottom of your heart, you want to win. And when you lose, it's tough. You got to come back. And I did. As a matter of fact, one thing you were kind enough not to mention, I did a professional teams game when they went 9-73. So we're 9-73 in the NBA.
You probably remember every win.
We started out the season losing our first 15 games. We started out 0-15, and the 15th loss was in Los Angeles. And the team was owned by a gentleman, nicest man I ever worked for, a guy named Herb Kozlov. He called me on the phone in California, and Koz forgot about the difference in time between Philadelphia, and he called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was in bed, and he woke me up, and he said, "Are you all right?" He had a genuine concern about the people who worked for him. And he said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "You sound like you're going to die on the air." And I guess I did. And he said, "I want you to stay there for a week, and I'm going to fly your wife out, and I want you to take a week off and just relax." He said, "Bill, it's not the end of the world." Well, it seemed like the end of the world. And I don't know how you guys are feeling when you're losing games and you're in a losing streak like you're in now. It's not easy to take. And when you're sitting here calling every single play, you're dying with these kids out here. And you're dying with Bill. And you're dying. It's tough. But things will get better, guys, I assure you.
It's good to hear that you've lost some games as a broadcaster, Bill, because Joe's tried to pin this on me a couple times. This is our second season working together, and at this point in our now almost 2 seasons, Hawks have lost 35 games. So it's good to know I'm not the only one. It's
all your fault, huh?
Exactly.
I guess I'm the weak link, I suppose.
Yeah, you're the guy.
But here's what I'm struck by. Bill, I'm all proud today because this is my 500th Hawk broadcast, and you're talking about 5,000 Phillies games, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'll never last that long.
Well, I'll tell you, it really is. It's tough, and you got to hang in there, and you got to realize that those guys down on the field are feeling it even more than you are.
Bill, at this stage of the game, I assume you still watch a lot of sports as a fan. What gives you pleasure as a fan?
To see guys give you and these kids are giving great effort. To see them give you the best they can offer. That's the best they have to give you. To see them compete. Competition is to me, competition is the soul of what we're doing up here. Competition is what it's all about. If you can go out there every single day and compete, and at the end of the day say that you gave it the best you have, nobody can ask any more of you. Even you, Matt, costed all these games.
The problem is,
doing my best.
Bill, if we flew him to Los Angeles for a week, I don't know that we'd send a plane to pick him up.
We'd never bring him back.
Now, Matt wouldn't even know this, but Bill called a dramatic buzzer-beating win for the Hawks back in 1988 when Pick Brown made a driving layup to win a game at Villanova at the buzzer. Certainly not probably in Bill's top 10 all-time, but for Hawk fans, a top 10 all-timer. What do you get asked about the most, Bill? Wilt or Chuck Bednarik landing on Jim Taylor? Legendary games at the Palestra, Convention Hall?
I have been at 4 different banquets, Joe, and 4 times this has happened at 4 different locations with Wilt Chamberlain, because we were guests of honor at affairs, and people have come up to Wilt and said to him, quote, "Wilt, that night you got the 100 in the Boston Garden."
Yeah, right.
I was there. Another guy said, "That night you got 100 in the Spectrum." I was there. And another guy comes up and said, "That night you got 100 in Madison Square Garden." I was there. And I said to Wilt one time, "Does that happen often?" He said, "All the time. All the time." There were 4,000 people in that building in Hershey. Since then, without doubt, this was March 2nd, 1962. Since then, without doubt, I have met 40,000 people who say I was there.
Well, I know Joe wasn't there, and I wasn't born yet, so we weren't there. Now, when you watch TV and you watch broadcasters today, is there anybody that stands out that you like to watch?
I like to listen to Joe Buck, and I like to listen to Bob Costas. I think they really do a really, really good job. The game is the important thing. The broadcasters aren't nearly as important as they think they are. Or I'm not really as important as I thought I was. The game is the thing. These kids are out there giving the best they have. It may not be enough now, but it will be. It'll get better. But the game is the important thing. And Byron Sham once told me that. He was an old broadcaster. Byron Sham once told me that when I first started to do the Phillies games in 1963. He said, "Hey, If it wasn't for the game, none of us would be here, which is really true. When you think of what the game has created for all of us, broadcasters, writers, statisticians, what the game, one for the game, we'd probably be fixing somebody's leaky gas pipe somewhere,
Bill, I have to ask about your writing. You mentioned writers, but writing is a lost art in many respects, and all those years you did those great essays on KYW, and even now people love any short bit that you do in any venue. Where and how did you learn to write, and how important do you think it was to your career?
Well, that's a nice thing for you to say, Joe. I appreciate that, and I doubly appreciate it because I'm doing that now. I'm writing blogs, and I find it...
How about that?
Yeah, I am, and I really enjoy it. I love to write.
You're very good at it.
Well, thank you. That's where it comes. I love to write. It comes easily to me. I have a love affair, seriously. I have a love affair with the English language. I really do. I think the English language is just poetry. I just love it. And I appreciate good writing, and there are some great writers. There are some good writers here in Philadelphia, very good writers. I really love to write. My ambition as a child, as a kid, I made up my mind at a very early age what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a sports writer. I wanted to write. And I wound up in broadcasting instead. But I still write, and I still enjoy it. And this WIP and CBS have asked me to write. And now I can find myself to writing. I write a blog a week. And it's fun. I really enjoy it. I can't wait to do it. And, at my age, it's a challenge now, anything else. And I really enjoy it. It's very kind of you to even mention that.
It's not cutting into your golf game, is it?
Oh no, nothing cuts into that. I'll tell you, I can write. I can play golf easier and better than I write.
Well, Bill, we're glad, number one, that you didn't end up fixing anybody's leaky pipes, and that you did do what you did for broadcasting. We appreciate everything you've done for the Big Five, for the city of Philadelphia, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon.
It's been an honor to be with you guys. I do listen to you, and I wish you the best. And really, things are going to get better.
We sure hope so. The great Bill Campbell.
We don't have to pay for this therapy, do we, Matt? Because it's been extremely effective coming from the dean. There should be a school of broadcasting in this town, and you should be the dean emeritus.
Well,
thank you, Bill.
I could tell you some more stories about that, Joe, but I will. Thank you both for having me.
God bless you.
The great Bill Campbell, the dean of the Big Five, the dean of broadcasting here in the city of Philadelphia. We have about a minute until we get back underway. Temple 32, St. Joseph's 22. We'll come back for the second half, as well as some of your halftime stats on the St. Joseph's Sports Network. Thanks again to Bill Campbell for joining us at halftime of St. Joseph's and Temple. The Hawks have now dropped 9 straight after a loss to Richmond the other night, and that's the first time since 1998, 1999 that they have lost 9 straight games. They'll look to bounce back this Saturday at home against UMass, and then next Sunday on the road, February 13th at Fordham. Over to the women's hoops side of things, Cindy Griffin's Hawks fell to Dayton 79-68 on the road over the weekend. They'll hit the road again for 2 straight games at Rhode Island and then Fordham. Inside the Hawks talked to Coach Griffin about the road trip, as well as the continued emergence of a couple of her freshmen. Wrapping up this week's podcast, here's our bi-weekly sit-down with Cindy Griffin on Inside the Hawks. Hard to believe, but it is the month of February here on Inside the Hawks, our weekly podcast that focuses in on all things St. Joseph's athletics. Matt Martucci with Hawk women's basketball coach Cindy Griffin for our bi-weekly check. You come in now 12-9, 2-5 in the A-10. You get a full week off to prepare for Rhode Island after a tough loss to Dayton. You've had a little time to reflect, I guess, this week. What have you been thinking about as far as this season?
Well, I think, we've had a tough stretch in the last couple games. We've played 4 of the top 4 teams in our league in that 7-game stretch. And, I would say the game that, we should have won is the Bonaventure game. And that was disappointing. But that just showed some weaknesses that we needed to work on. And going into this week without a game allows us to do that and put some different things in, give us some different options. and really just get back on track. And that's valuable for us right now. And we need to, in the next 7 games, we really need to get after it and take one game at a time, of course, and really show what we're able to do and why we were so successful early in the year, and get that little swagger back.
Let's talk about that Dayton game. You scrap, you claw. Early in the first half, you're down. You put together a nice run, and you go into the break up by, I believe it was 4 points. Second half, for some reason, can't find it from the perimeter. I know this is probably one of those, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me this question, type of questions, but why is there such a change, I guess, from half to half? Just in basketball in general, as somebody who's seen a lot of basketball, why does that change happen other than the other team maybe making adjustments?
Well, I think what you saw and what you're seeing is the teams that we were up on. We were up against Xavier, we were up against Dayton, believe we were up against Charlotte. Those teams can flip a switch, and we've got to be able to match that intensity. Some may have better players at different positions, but we need to be able to match that intensity. When they pick that up, we need to pick it up with them. We don't have to do everything right, but we certainly need to limit our mistakes. And if you look at the Dayton game, 9 of the first 11 possessions were turnovers, and that's unacceptable. That's stuff in our control, not what they did. And there's those things that we need to fix, and that's what this week was about.
We're with Hawk head coach Cindy Griffin here on Inside the Hawks on St. Joseph's All Access. Let's talk positives. You have a freshman that continues to get better. Aaron Shields, 22 points against Dayton, 5 3-point field goals. When I think of her, the word fearless just comes to mind. What do you continue to see from her?
Well, I think you're right. She's just fearless. Every challenge that has been presented to her, as far as, you've got to be able to score on this kid, or, this kid might be a little bit bigger, or she might be a little bit more athletic. Erin answers with scoring. And, I think that is something that she wills, but also she works on her game all the time. And, she sees a play before it happens. She plays the game at a speed and at a level that most seniors do at this point. And, she's just been terrific. She's been terrific in every aspect of the game. And, we hope that she continues. We know she'll continue to lead us at that spot.
One of her teammates, Shelby Smith, a year older, obviously, picks up her first start of the season against Dayton. It ends up being kind of short-lived. It seems like she's just struggling a little bit this season. What's the reason for that?
Well, I think she came in as a point guard, and we've shifted her over to perimeter player. She does shoot the ball and she can score the ball. Just hasn't done that for us on a consistent basis in practice, and started to show a little bit, in practice. And we wanted to just change things up a little bit. And, she didn't show so much in the stat sheet, but she certainly didn't hurt us out there. And, that's something where we're kind of searching right now for kids that can produce, and that kids that can, obviously guard on the other end. Because our top 2 kids have been struggling right now. And, they'll get it back. But until that happens, we wanted to look at a different look.
One of those surprises that you have gotten, though, you said you're looking for people to score and produce. Ilza Gottfried, a big game this past weekend. Were you expecting this from her? I didn't know a whole lot about her, so maybe this is just a surprise to me. But did you think she was capable of this when the season started?
Not when the season started. We thought this year was going to be more of a learning the language, learning the basketball language, learning plays, learning from Dominique, our senior, because in essence that's who we see her replacing in a lot of different ways. But Ilsa was the product, or is the product, of some injuries, and given opportunities. She helped us in Tulane. She helped us win the Hawk Classic. And against Dayton, she helped us compete. And she can score the ball. Sometimes it's not mistake-free. There's certainly some freshman mistakes that happen that, we don't want to have to live with, And, I think with Ilsa, when she just plays, she's at her best. And, that's something that we need to take advantage of.
Finally, talking about this upcoming stretch, you get two teams that you're very familiar with in Rhode Island and Fordham. Two teams, one of whom in Fordham is in kind of the same position as far as the league as you are. What do you think about what you have coming up as far as these two teams? And what do you need to do here in terms of getting back into the A10? Because obviously this is the kind of stretch that could vault you right there.
Right. This is important. Rhode Island is really important. They're all important right now. And, I think there's a sense of urgency with our kids. And, we see that in the last week of practice, and they know. But on any given night, anybody can beat anybody, regardless of, I don't know when the last time Fordham beat us. I don't know. But the kids know this stuff. So it gives them a little bit of confidence, whether it's true or it's not true. I think it is true. Fordham is certainly a much improved team. They've beaten some teams. But, it's really more about us. It's about us right now. And, we've got to get our swagger back, and we've got to get our kids scoring that have been giving us numbers. And, we're doing such a great job on the defensive end. We don't want to lose sight of that. But at the same time, the games that we were winning down the stretch when it has been close, we won those games. So Bonnie's was a setback, and I think that is something that we need to get over. And obviously playing Dayton, I think we showed some improvement in different areas, but we just didn't come out with the win. And I think that hurt us. That hurt us. But again, looking ahead, we just got to take one game at a time. And Rhode Island is very important. It's very, very important.
All right, Coach. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and we hope you grab those.
Thank you.
Hawk head coach Cindy Griffin here on Inside the Hawks on St. Joseph's All Access. SJU will come home next Saturday after 2 games on the road. The Hawks will take on Richmond on Saturday, February 12th, 2 o'clock start. And, of course, for tickets, visit the athletics website at sjuhawks.com. On the men's side of things, they come home this Saturday against UMass. That is 7 p.m. start. And then their next home game 11 days from then against Xavier on Wednesday, February 16th, a 7 o'clock start. Join us next week on Inside the Hawks as we check in with some of the spring sports. Seasons are right around the corner. Hard to believe that we're moving into the month of February, but we indeed are. And for St. Joseph's All Access, I'm Matt Martucci. This has been Inside the Hawks. We will talk to you next week, Hawk fans.